Dr. Shahani, welcome to Just Like That.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so the world really knows Dr. Shahani as the rock star at HR College, a student turned faculty, turned the principal of HR College for so long. Know Dr. Shahani as the ex-sheriff of Mumbai. A lot of people also know Dr. Shahani as an entrepreneur, someone who's been a pioneer in the education space. And you can see ISME and ISD schools of entrepreneurship, schools of design, creating future leaders in academia. But for me, personally, Dr. Shahani has been a super mentor right from the time that I entered college in FYJC till today. And Dr. Shahani, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on Just Like That.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. And it's a great feeling for a teacher when a student remembers the teacher. And I think just super to know that I have my students everywhere. And I really am very thankful for all the respect that I get. But I have a little story which I'm going to tell you. And this is, I was doing my master's in Sydenham College, and I was completing my master's. I was a fellow of the Sydenham College doing my MCom. And then I was very tempted to join industry. And I applied to some great multinationals. And in one of the multinationals, I almost went through 7 rounds of interviewing. And it was my 8th one, which would have said to just seal it and say, yes, I'm joining. And just when I was about to leave home, my mother, who, you know, it's so wonderful about having these mothers who tell you what, they just change your direction and with one smile. And she said to me, because at that same time I was offered also the lecturership at Sydenham College. And she said to me that the returns you will get, the respect you will get from the smiles of the students will go far beyond the respect and returns you will get from selling soap, shampoo, and detergent. And I think that was it. And I've never looked back. And I have to say that at every stage, it is the students who have inspired me. And it's my this is an opportunity for me to say a big thank you to all my students over the years. And I know that I may not be in contact with you, but you've always been in my heart.
No, in fact, Dr. Shahani, you said it so beautifully that so many of us, I know, remember you, are in touch with you, keep reaching out, because while your mother played a very pivotal role in your life, I keep saying this in every forum that I speak, that a huge part of my passion is what I owe to you, because I very well remember that one of our professors had gone on maternity leave when I was doing BMS at HR, and you had invited me to say, Sahil, why don't you teach the FYJC students? And that's when I really started teaching. And you're now being a visiting faculty at various IIMs and IITs. I think the journey really started way back then. But Dr. Shahani, what I've really seen over these years, we spoke about respect very briefly, right? I think the whole concept of respect about a professor being in a classroom, about having it in letter or in spirit, and manifesting itself to say when a professor is teaching, how much do you respect the professor by paying attention versus how much do you respect the professor by just saying, okay, the person is a professor and therefore I need to respect the individual, or my marks are at stake, or there is a control mechanism. What is your take on that?
So I would say that I'm going to look at the word respect itself, RESPECT, okay? And I think that itself gives you, me, everyone a clue of what it is. The first most important thing, which I share with all my teachers, with all my fellow colleagues, and I share this to tell them that respect is reciprocal. The first R is reciprocal. if you respect your students will automatically respect you. If they are in a class, they have something to say, listen to them, give them the respect for their views, give them the respect for their interest, for their knowledge. And I think not just in the classroom, but I think I used to meet students in corridors, on staircases, and always have so much respect for them, saying that how wonderful these kids are and what would my life have been if I did not have these. I never use the elevator at HR college. Of course, it does not talk about the safety of the elevator, but it talks about that I had to meet my students while coming in, going down. Whenever I would be very, very busy with work and I've got like challenges sitting on my table, I would just leave everything and go outside and stand in the corridor or take my little table there and sit there. And the vibes of the students, the positives of the students was something that took me on. But I think, how do people really respect each other? I think the second part of the respect is E. E is for ethics. I think values and ethics automatically, I may not have met a lot of the prime ministers. I may not have met a lot of politicians. I may not have met a lot of people, but I think you get respect for them from their action, from how ethical they are. I think ethics is very important. And I think my fiduciary responsibility is towards my students first. And I think if it has to be, then it has to be a strong value system. Let me go to the S. S is
Before
the
you go to
social.
the S, yeah, sorry, before you
Yes.
go to the S, the beauty is you spoke about the corridors and you spoke about walking up and down, but I still vividly remember how Butterfly Cafe came to life. Imagine people
Absolutely.
who were on the street losing their livelihood and you housed them inside college and it became a rage. You remember?
But I was, yes, of course, I was selfish at that time because students were not attending the college regularly. And I would tell the teachers, you're such wonderful teachers. Why are the students not attending? And what is it that will, I want them to jump out of the bed. My wish when I became principal in the year 2000 was that every time a student jumps out of the bed, he wants to come to college and he runs to college and walks back home. This was used to be my dream. And I think that's when I discovered that I need to pull them into a social presence. And that is why I was able to create the Butterfly Cafe and all those, you know, uh, everyone who was there on the road was brought in. Raju Chinese, I think in every session, I'm always asked about it. But Sahil, that brought the students on the campus, right? Yes,
Correct.
they wanted to get first thing in the morning and go and eat the Chinese bhel. I would even have people from HDFC and the others call up and say, Jara, Chinese, and I know that became an attraction. But from that, we got students on campus and then they were back into the classrooms. So I think, very important for students to be together. And I think that's how we grew into a great institution because the students joined hands.
Correct. So from the classroom, let's move to the boardroom, right? You've been on so many organizations, companies, advising them, so on and so forth. Is respect really commanded or is it meant to be earned? Of course, you spoke about it being reciprocated, but because, if you go back to the whole family setup, you say, bade hain to respect karna chahiye. But with the millennial population being there, the whole concept is, oh, you need to earn the respect, right? I won't respect you just because you're elder to me.
Yeah. But I think both, because earning the respect takes time. By the time you really set, as a teacher, by the time you get in, by the time the students get to know you, they understand you, they see how well you respect. Sometimes you have to command it if you're a teacher, especially if you're a teacher, and say, everyone sit together and sit down together and do these things. And you need, once they had, one of the BMS classes had soiled the classroom, and I brought jhadus into the class, and I told them, now you're going to clean this. And unless you clean this, you're not going to be allowed to appear for your examination tomorrow or day after, when it was going to happen. And at that stage, they all did it. But I think even sometimes commanding respect also is very important, because students, they would tell me very often, ma'am, we don't attend because we are not made to. Ma'am, we don't do this because we are not made to. And so sometimes you have to command. But I think it's a beautiful relationship between a teacher and a student, and you never know when it is earned, when it is commanded, when it is the teacher flows with this. But I want to come back to your point
Yes,
about
PCT.
B2C. That is my next. If you see, it's your questions are flowing in my way of how I had planned to bring out respect.
And the beauty, this is absolutely unscripted, right? We haven't really spoken, we haven't discussed, and I'm so happy it's just flowing in.
It is, because this is how, this is how some of us think, that we have the meaning right in front of us and we still keep looking everywhere. And I said, definitely the canteen, the social presence, giving them, you remember the terrace, how we turned it into having socials and having all of Malhars we won and everything. This sessions just on that terrace, right? There was nothing else. 18,000 square feet, and we were able to run 7,000 students, and they all looked happy, and I hope are doing well. But the passion, the P comes of the passion. I think you have to have some passion in life, which is very overriding. We've got passion a lot about everything, but overriding. And overriding passion for me was that 19th century curriculum being taught by 20th century professors to 21st century. I became principal in the year 2000, the millennial year, and I said, what's this? 30 years down, I learned something which is still being taught now, and secretarial practice had not changed. Define a secretary, define, nothing has changed, and life is changing so much. And therefore, I think my passion was to bring the real world into the classrooms. Unless academia and industry interface with each other, and both are beneficiaries. Academia is definitely a beneficiary, but so is industry, because we are then giving you the right people that you need. And I think connecting these two, and so can you imagine what happened? That became my topic for thesis. And today my PhD is in academia industry interaction. And I put in a lot of models, and I'm amazed to see that a lot of these models, training within industry, internships, getting the teachers to train within industry, all this has to do. And then, of course, the passion went beyond borders. And I said, why can't we understand and look at the best that's around us? And when I became the sheriff, I took 3 delegations of principals of different colleges. I took the vice chancellors, I took even the government officials, and I said, let's see what's happening elsewhere in the world. We don't have to give up what we are doing, but I'm sure we can improve on that, and let's work on it. And that's when internationalization just fell into the lap, and MOUs after MOUs. This morning, I've got a call from Bath, University of Bath, saying, let us renew our MOU. So I think our kids are amazing. First of all, India is the youngest country, and I think we all owe it to our younger generation. And that's why that was it.
And then after that, respect The whole
I
C
will
and the T.
just, everything that I did was the E in respect, let me tell you. Probably that has been my signature, is enthusiasm. I would take up every project and say that this is the best. And where did I learn this from? As you grow older, you see a magician. When you're a kid, I used to take my son to meet the magicians and show the shows, and I used to see the excitement the magician has. We know what the magic is all about, but it's something that comes through there. Then I realized our social functions, celebrating success. I think that's something that we in India don't do so frequently. And I used to say 7,000 students, all 7,000 students must get a certificate of merit. They must be good at something or the other. And our annual day functions would go on and on and on, because we would be announcing hundreds of prizes. Every child, there is a young girl who I gave an award for coming punctually at 7 a.m. for her lecture. And that kind of I just gave her a simple letter to say, she used to be the only girl sitting in that 7 a.m. lecture. And I thought she deserves that. Do you know what happened? When she applied to Yale, this was the only certificate they looked at, and she became the first HRI to join Yale. And I think that's what is very important, that you have to exuberate enthusiasm for students to take this as the best project that's happening in their lives.
Right.
So that was it. And I'm going to go to the last two before I think what's played a role in my life, I would say, is communication, the C of the respect, because I think the communication, I may not be the best narrative. I may not be able to give you the best narrative with a flowing English and so on, but I spoke from my heart. And that was taught to me very young when I was in JB Petit High School. Hindi professor used to say, "Dil se baat karo, gale se mat baat karo." And to say, "Sir, dil se kaise baat karo?" And then he used to say, "Ab kya ho raha hai tumhare dil mein? Wo bata do humko." And the way he used to bring our passions and that communication has to be from the heart. It cannot be a narrative. It cannot be a voice. It cannot be this. And finally, at the end of it all, no one would respect me if I did not show any talent, right? There has to be a merit in the case. And the talent, I tell students with talent who don't have confidence and they feel they are not going to do well, I said the world will stand up one day and respect you for what you've done. So please have confidence in yourself, have faith in yourself, and you'll do well. And that's how I must say I love my students. I'm extremely inspired. I can't tell you, there's not a day that goes without meeting my students. And now virtually, I'm even more excited because, Sahil, you're only a foot away from me, right? You are right there.
Right.
I don't think we ever had 15 minutes such a conversation without being interrupted on the campus. And thank God for the T also is for technology. Thank God for technology. Had it not been technology, I don't think we would have been able to achieve so much. It would have taken India years and years to reach virtual education. Now hybrid models, hybrid staff meetings, look at where people are and how effectively they are communicating. So I think I would just say that it definitely begins with, firstly, the respect to your parents. And I can tell you, those who have grandparents, they develop the respect much faster. I have done a study and I have a notebook which I used to keep in HR college. And when a student entered my uh, room, I could tell you whether the student has had some impact of his grandparents or not. I was able to judge this because there was confidence, there was love, there was giving, and there was respect in all those students. So I think our parents, our grandparents, our teachers have all played a very important role in our lives. And I think even people on the road, when I see, that little child who comes near my car and wants to sell what it is selling, I just have so much respect for that child to say that how wonderful, he believes so strongly in what he's doing. And whether you take it or you don't buy it, he's still smiling.
True. Great, Dr. Shahani. Thank you so much for giving us this new definition of respect and breaking it down with so many different elements. I think you just left not just me, but so many viewers off just like that, so inspired. And I'm more than happy because, we didn't really script this conversation, but of course you thought of it and the questions just flowed in so beautifully. So thank you so much once again for joining us on Just Like That.
Thank you so much, Sahil. Thank you. And to all the viewers who would be viewing this, please remember, respect begins at home. Respect begins with your parents and your grandparents. Please remember that, and the teachers. And I'm sure all of you will be inspiration to our teachers and to our parents. Thank you so much. Wishing you all the very best. And I would just say my last Hindi muhavra, which I always felt that came from the heart. And it says, Soch badlo to sitare badal jayenge. Soch badlo to sitare badal jayenge. Nazar badlo to nazare badal jayenge. क्यों रोज किश्तियां बदलते हो? Why are you changing the boats every day? दिशाएं बदलो तो किनारे बदल जाएंगे.
क्या बात है, और किनारे पे आपको साहिल मिलेगा.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shahani.
All the
Take
best.
care.
Wish you all.
Thank you, Dr. Shahani. Thank you.